So, this past weekend has been pretty busy for me. Not only did I go to a convention, by the way, expect a pickup video in the next couple days. There's actually some really cool stuff I got. Some of it I didn't even know existed. Hope you're looking forward to that. But also, a little game called Donkey Kong Bonanza finally released. Probably my most anticipated game this year. So I wanted to do a first impressions on the game, what I think of it so far. The thing is, I'm legally blind, so my experience might be different from yours. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the game if you've played it in the comments below. There's some things I love about the game, and some things I don't love. It does feel great though to have a new Donkey Kong game after what feels like an eternity since Tropical Freeze. But I didn't really know if the Mario team could pull off Donkey Kong. After all, they have a way different feel. Sure, they're both platformers, but they're different types of platformers. There's a certain weight to Donkey Kong that Mario doesn't have. Mario's more of something that anyone can play. But with Donkey Kong, there's a bit of a learning curve. There's more challenge involved. And I'm happy to report that they mostly pulled it off. Bonanza really does feel like a Donkey Kong game, in a great way. It does have that Odyssey feel at the same time. There's challenge rooms, just like Odyssey. They're also pretty comparable to shrines from Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. There's also giant open levels, very akin to something like Super Mario Odyssey's levels. However, they are way bigger. But while Odyssey was a celebration of the Mario series, Bonanza really feels like a celebration of the Donkey Kong series. From the old school arcade game, all the way to Country and even 64. I'm not so in love with the new design just yet, but I do think it's something I will get accustomed to. I still prefer the old Rare design. The new one just kind of seems Disney-fied, or I guess illuminated, because illumination. I will say though, this Donkey Kong seems to fit in better with the rest of the Mario universe, but I will definitely miss the old design. After all, it's been around for more than 30 years now. But enough about the design. How does Donkey Kong feel to play? He honestly feels really good to play, but I do recommend making some changes when you first boot up the game. The game has a directional punching system with each base button punching up, to the side, or down. That is, except for the A button, which jumps by default. The game gives you the option to switch B and A so that B is jump and A will punch down, and I much prefer this control scheme. Even if it technically makes less sense, it just feels way better to play it that way. I will say there was definitely a learning curve for me in learning how Donkey Kong plays, because it's similar, but also very different from Odyssey. In Bonanza, you can basically go anywhere. It has the freedom of something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. You can also punch through just about everything. So for me, it's pretty easy to get lost. The game does have a waypoint marker, where Donkey Kong and Pauline will whistle and hum, and you'll see a little icon of where to go. I kind of wish you could make the icon bigger or change the color, as for me it can be a little bit difficult to see in some sections. Some people might find this to be baby easy mode, but for me this is very helpful. I don't think the marker always shows you where to go though. Sometimes I still get lost, especially with the camera. Probably my biggest problem with Bonanza. It just feels like the camera was more optimized for the linear sections of Odyssey rather than the more open sections of Bonanza. Constantly, you won't be able to see Donkey Kong if he's underground, climbing up, and sometimes it's just way too zoomed in. In some areas of the game too, there's also this weird haze. This is a common issue for a lot of Nintendo games. I think it's the hide effects like Poppin', which the game still has by the way. But I don't know, I just wish there was a way to turn that off. It makes the game more difficult to see and kind of foggy. The worst offender was this ice level. You have to cross this bridge with the Zebra Bonanza power, and I fell off that bridge into the water, I'm not even joking, probably 30 times. It was just way too bright for me to see. There is a high contrast mode on the Switch too, but that didn't help either. I did do it after a lot of trial and error though. I think the game would have also benefited from a lock-on system, like in Zelda, for combat sections. Sure, it would have made it easier, but the game's already easy enough. Outside of the cheap deaths that you have from some of the challenge levels with the camera. Most of my deaths have been because of the camera, or even lighting in some cases. I will say, for someone that's visually impaired, it usually takes me a lot longer than the average Joe to beat a game. Like, maybe add an extra 5 hours for someone that's visually impaired on a game time for the average game. At least if I don't know what I'm doing. My last big gripe with the game is performance. This game chugs sometimes, down to 30 or even 40 frames a second. I did talk about this in another video, so I'll put a link in the description for that, if you're interested. But yeah, the game does have frame rate issues, which is really weird because Odyssey was flawless. You could not drop the frame rate, even if you tried. It also makes the Switch 2 fan spin really fast. Reminds me of how people complained about the PS4 taking off to space when playing more intensive games. It gets pretty loud too. Even the little bit that I've tried in portable mode is like that. I kinda get why, considering basically everything is destructible, and I kinda find it funny to be honest. Like, this is a $450 console and it's already doing this a month after release. But probably my favorite thing about the game is the role that Donkey Kong has. It is just so satisfying to roll around as Donkey Kong. Really feels like the perfect transition from the role from Country to a 3D environment. It's about as satisfying as the Cappy hat throw jump thing from Odyssey. If you know, you know. I will say, as for music, the game really doesn't hit the highs of something like Country or even Donkey Kong 64, but there are some good tracks for sure. The remixes are awesome, especially from the Country games, which had perfect soundtracks. And I will say, I thought I was going to be annoyed by the singing from Pauline, but honestly, it's starting to grow on me a little bit. I don't know, I'm kind of a sucker for a good musical. You do have the option to turn it off though. She does talk a lot too. I think most people will find this annoying, but in some cases it's kind of helpful for me. Sometimes she'll just go, "Ooh, a banana!" Or she'll tell me what's nearby, and this is actually a little bit helpful. Weirdly enough though, she's like the only character that talks in the game, like speaks English. The rest make like grunt noises or whatever else, or have their own language. I don't know, I always found it weird when a game or a movie does something where one person speaks English and another person speaks another language, and they're still speaking in the same conversation. Just weird to me. It does feel like, to an extent, like they're trying to do the Disney thing here. Like, Donkey Kong and Pauline are pretty similar to Penelope and Wreck-It Ralph from the Wreck-It Ralph universe, if you really think about it. They also gave her a personality. Like, she talks a lot. They kind of do that thing that The Last of Us or Uncharted does, where they give the character a personality, and they talk a lot, like they're actually a real person. Not saying that's a good or bad thing, just something of note. And no, I'm not saying that this game is The Last of Us. Far from it. I'm just saying they're using the Naughty Dog formula here. But yeah, those are my first impressions of Donkey Kong Bonanza. Despite my gripes, I'm honestly having a great time. It is really the game I've been waiting for on the Switch 2. Even if I have some issues with the game and the console itself. But let me know what you guys think. Have you tried Donkey Kong Bonanza? Are you enjoying the game? Do you hate it? Have you not tried it because the Switch 2 is overpriced? Or you just don't like Donkey Kong? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. It would really help out the channel. Thank you for watching today's video, and look forward to the full-on review. Thanks guys, bye.